Hi all, welcome to the Engineering Day Americas for TechM. And I would firstly like to congratulate Tech Mahindra for completing 25 glorious years in the space of product engineering. And also, thank you very much for this opportunity for Zinnov to present their understanding of the key market trends in this particular digital engineering space. So the first thing that we would like to discuss and start off with is, just the overall market and how it has been over the last year or so. So one of the things that we've seen is that engineering has definitely been significantly resilient. In fact, we were at a point, looking at the COVID pandemic, we did believe that there would be a dip in this spend. But however, the last 2 quarters of FY21 have been really good. And we have almost seen a significant increase in the engineering spend. It has stayed resilient. It has grown by 3%. And what is most heartening is to see the amount of investment that's happening in the digital space. We have seen the growth in the digital engineering be upwards of 15%. And we definitely believe that this growth is going to continue, and it would reach close to about $1 trillion in the next 3 years. And if you analyze where this growth is coming from, the interesting thing is that a lot of this growth is coming from the service-led verticals by themselves, who typically never played a key role in the engineering spend. And I'll talk about it a little bit, right? So why do we see significant engineering spend in BFSI, retail, healthcare, and what are they spending on and what are they challenged with? The second area of big growth is definitely on the high tech side. And within high tech, of course, we understand that the software space itself is growing. But even within that, we have seen the top giants of GAFAM have a significant amount of coverage and dominance in this spend. And I would want to like to spend some time on just the GAFAM market, and we'll talk through that in a little bit of detail. One of the things that is also a big takeaway from here is that both high tech and services together will start becoming the dominant areas within the engineering R&D spend. And for almost a century, this spend had been dominated by the core manufacturing sectors of automotive, aerospace, industrial, etc. But we are at an inflection point where this entire spend is being driven by the high tech and the services led industries. So that's one of the key things for us to watch out for, and the implications of that we will discuss as we go forward. If you look at it from a geography perspective, what we've looked at is, North America continues to be the dominant geography. Even within North America, the West Coast, which is dominated by GAFAM, which is dominated by your software giants, some of whom we all know, the Alphabet and the Microsofts of the world, all of them being in the West Coast. And like I mentioned, software is a big vertical with a high growth rate. So that skews the numbers in favor of North America. At the same time, if you look at Europe, most of Europe is where we are seeing significant spend, and also significant spend in the newer areas by the core verticals. Now, these are the verticals that have actually got disrupted during pandemic and even before that. So, automotive, for example, is a big is a dominant vertical within Europe, in Germany, in France. So is aerospace, and so is healthcare and pharma. All of these verticals are significantly disrupted, and we are seeing them invest a lot of dollars to ensure that they are still at the top of their game and not getting displaced by some of the other new entrants. If you look at APAC, APAC again is a market which has grown which has grown at its pace. We have seen a resurgence in the spending within the Japanese market. There is a renewed focus in the kind of areas that they are looking at, especially from the healthcare sector, looking at going into industrial. We have seen them making significant acquisitions as well to improve their market position in this particular space. So again, APAC is an area to watch out for, and North America for software, Europe for many of the traditional core industries. If we move to the next slide, what we would find is the top trends that we are noticing across different verticals. And we have kind of crystallized them into three: 5G, digital thread, and sustainable engineering. I will kind of walk you through with the help of some examples on each of these big trends. 5G, we all know what it is, but if you see the kind of the investments that have already happened, the kind of expectations that the market has, and we've done multiple customer interviews, roundtables in this. Almost everybody seems to be betting that it's not only the telecom vertical, but every customer focused vertical, be it automotive, be it industrial, all of them are going to adopt 5G because of its ability to provide use cases at high speed and low latency. One of the things that the overall industry complained about is the fact that we aren't seeing too many actual dollar deals in 5G, and there's a lot of investment going in, but little output. However, we believe that that is changing, and one of the facts and interesting case in point is the very recent announcement of the Verizon Ericsson deal. So this deal ensures that Ericsson is helping Verizon roll out its ultra wideband 5G, and the contract covers multiple aspects, right? It covers MIMO, it covers spectrum sharing, it covers cloud radio access, etc. And Ericsson believes that this is the largest deal that they have ever won. And just to keep in mind, Ericsson has been around from 1876. So that's the kind of scale of investments and also returns that we are already beginning to see in 5G. And of course, like I mentioned, it's not only telecom, but if you look at many of the companies and industries that are rolling out their own captive 5G network. If you look at automotive, and the case in point on, say, a BMW working closely with Vodafone and Ericsson to roll out connected services using 5G within their car ecosystem. That's also a very good example to show the kind of adoption we are seeing in 5G. The second area is around digital thread, and digital thread for us is using digital technologies, be it industrial IoT, be it virtual reality, across the entire value chain of the product, across the PDLC as well, right? So again, just to give you a few examples, if you look at what a company like Carlsberg is doing, they have integrated industrial IoT into almost all their legacy systems at the factory shop floor. And they've been able to connect more than 150 of their markets using this. So what happens now is almost at a click of a button, they're able to see the live data from production, what are the, and how each of these things need to improve, etc. If you look at Mercedes, they have introduced a virtual and augmented reality app, which allows the customers to look at the kind of work that is, to look at the kind of features that the car has in a digital environment. All of these are enabled using digital thread. The other area where we believe a significant investment is taking place is definitely around sustainability. It means different things for different companies. At the same time, there's a lot of engineering that goes into it. If you look at Shell, just the fact that Shell is going to invest close to $4 billion every year to ensure that they reach the sustainability goal of reducing their carbon emission footprint by 45% by the end of 2030 itself shows the different areas that they need to work with. So it is not only in exploration, but across their entire supply chain is where they need to work. If you look at Schneider, they want to generate significant amount of revenue through their sustainability solutions. They want to reduce the carbon footprint by 800 million. And to do that, again, so they have to work with a network of their 1,000 plus of their suppliers. They have to make engineering changes to their products. So each of this is very complex, and not only at a business level, but at a product and process level, that we are seeing some of these changes, investments in the engineering area. What I would now like to do is, spend a minute on how we are seeing the talent landscape evolve because of this. As we see, the high-tech verticals want digital talent. We have seen services companies looking at it, and obviously the companies who natively never had this talent, for example, the Volkswagen has announced hiring 50,000 software engineers. And now all of these companies are looking at a similar talent, digital talent pool. And hence, we have already seen significant wage inflation. We have seen a big war for talent, and we definitely believe that this will continue. One of the positive aspects, though, is companies have learned to live in almost a borderless environment, and hence we will see companies adopt this cross geography leverage of talent a lot more. We have seen significant investments in skilling and reskilling programs. How do you get the best out of the existing engineers and not just hire new talent? How do you use technology to augment the skills and capability of the talent that you have? So I think talent in itself is a big area of focus going forward. In the next section, what I'll cover is, one or two slides just detailing the kind of disruption that we are seeing in some of the key verticals. And what I'll do is I'll try and explain it by examples rather than theory. If you look at banking, now banking is a space where, they were early adopters of technology, but not to the scale that we are seeing right now. If you look at JP Morgan, it's spending about $11 billion on technology every year. Citigroup is at about 8.5 billion, which is about 20% of their expenses. They've went ahead and hired 2,500 software professionals in just 2020. And that is the scale of adoption we are seeing, right? And if you think about where they are deploying this talent and what problems they are looking to solve, the first one, of course, is modernization in terms of building better cloud migration, building better service workflows. The second is in terms of promoting data-driven decisions across different functions, and this is where you would need to deploy artificial intelligence. You would need to deploy virtual reality, etc. And finally, it is on customer experience. How do they compete with the new age digital banks? How do they compete with the Robin Hoods of the world? All of that they is either on mobile, it is using automation, RPA, etc. And these are the areas where we are seeing significant investment and leverage of engineering by the banks. For example, Bank of America spent just only on mobile banking, they spent close to $1 billion. So that's the scale of investment and engineering we are seeing in BFSI. If I look at retail now, retail, in fact, is very interesting. The reason it is interesting to us is we had created numbers that predicted the amount of digital investment by retail. And whatever numbers we predicted to have been invested in 3 years happened in just 6 months of last year. So they have just put their foot down and floored the throttle on digital transformation. And the transformation here is happening across 3 key areas. And again, I would like to illustrate them through examples. The first one is on in-store, the second is on inventory, and third is customer experience. If you look at in-store, one of the best examples I can think of is that by Kroger's, and they have this very interesting interesting product that they call Krogo, which is a physical and a digital marriage, almost what we call a phygital shopping cart. It's a physical shopping cart, but it provides you suggestions. It can help you scan. It allows you to pay. It can roll out your receipts, etc. And it's not just about the product. It's about how soon they were able to roll it out. So they are planning a complete 2,700 store rollout in just a few months. And this is not the only investment by Kroger, right? This is one of the multiple investments in digital that they are doing. If you look at the space of inventory and logistics, I think there is no better example than Walmart, wherein what we have seen is Walmart has invested close to $14 billion only on their overall supply chain. And they're using cutting edge technology to use data, maximize the basket size. They're looking at their entire checkout data to see which products are getting purchased together. How can they facilitate customer buying decisions around it? They've invested significantly on the omni-channel strategy, diversifying their own business models, including financial services as well into the mix. So there's a lot going on from an investment perspective from Walmart in digital. Finally, on customer experience, I think one of the things that we've always thought was not possible is to shop for cosmetics without the help of any personal assistant. So if you look at Sephora, which is obviously a large cosmetic brand, they are trying to recreate this whole personal shopping assistant in a virtual manner, and you can go in and they would basis your explicit and preferences that they know about you, and using technology they can suggest the best lipstick color, the best mascara for you, right? So that's actually treading into very interesting domain. It's using virtual augmented reality, it is using analytics, it is using automation. All of them put together is we are seeing some very interesting use cases in retail. If I talk about healthcare we know has been massively disrupted, especially in COVID. One of the key areas of disruption is mainly on the payer side. The idea is to how can the payers make their reach, coverage, and payments a lot more efficient. The second thing is obviously in terms of using virtual connects with customers, both outpatient and how do you keep customers at home to minimize inpatient across. So what we are seeing is investment across these five big buckets of telex, contactless, better workplaces, digital thread, and next generation governance. Maybe I'll give one or two examples, right? So if you look at what uh, on the healthcare provider side, one of the companies which we have seen make significant investment in the product itself is Mayo Clinic. So they have a proper product engineering team that is developing their own healthcare platform. If you look at Medtronic, they are looking at what they call Guardian Connect, and that is basically a smart continuous glucose monitoring device. So there's significant investment by providers, by payers, and also the usual med devices companies across the technology areas of IoT, AI, ML, RPA, etc. Now moving into some of the high tech verticals, right? The first one is obviously software. Software, like you saw, was one of the top spenders. And even within software, there are very almost four different varieties of companies that we notice. The first one, obviously, are the tech giants, and I'll maybe talk about them in the next slide. If you look at the traditional software companies or the enterprise software firms, a lot of them have been under some amount of stress and pressure for a while, right? So some of them have made the shift to the new area. For example, Adobe has gone to cloud, but many of the others are still in that journey of transformation, and hence you see that the expectation of their investment is going to be very high. So about 15% CAGR is what we expect of them. The industry specific firms, If you are a company that is focused on banking or retail or healthcare, we know that because your customers are demanding faster and better products, you better be on the cutting edge, and hence they will continue to keep investing. Many of the new age firms have seen their own work, I mean, their own stock prices, their own worth, and the kind of investment ability skyrocket. The companies like Zoom, companies like Workday, etc., because of COVID. One of the areas, like I said, I want to talk about is the tech giants. And within tech giants, we believe that the GAFAM and BAT, they will contribute about 20% of the entire digital engineering spend, right? So about 200 billion is what we believe only will get spent by between these companies. And that's a very, very big number. And the interesting thing is, it's not only software that these companies are spending on, right? So they're spending it on across different verticals. They're looking at automotive, they're looking at telecom. And these are also the companies that are really driving this war for talent, because they need engineers across the gamut of digital skill sets, across the different engineering functions. And that is what is driving a lot of the market, especially in US West Coast, some of the nearshore locations like LATAM, etc. At the same time, India continues to be one of the biggest talent pools that these companies are looking at for the longest of times. The other area I want to talk about now is on the semiconductor side. And semiconductor, what we have seen is, because of the fact that multiple companies, all different companies are looking at semiconductor for differentiation, the demand for the semiconductor chips in itself has skyrocketed. And each of these companies are really doubling down on their investments to make better products, to increase capacity, etc. And like we spoke about how every company is deploying digital, almost every company in every vertical is also deploying VLSI technology or chipset level customization to improve their differentiation and make their products a lot better than their competition. And in the next slide, what we illustrate is just the amount of spend that is happening on semiconductor in non-semiconductor verticals. So for example, the spend in automotive itself, we believe will reach about $3 billion in on VLSI in the next 3 years. If you look at a similar thing around telecom, that itself would be about $1.5 billion. And even core verticals like aerospace are not far behind. And I'll just like to illustrate with a few examples that we see in the next slide. So if you look at this particular slide, what you can see is how semicon is getting consumed across a variety of industries. I'll pick just a couple of interesting ones. If you look at automotive, Tesla has almost been the pioneer in creating custom chipsets, almost like how Apple, we've always known to have their own chipsets. Tesla is now in partnership with TSMC, Samsung, to drive their own customized 5 millimeter and 5 nanometer and 7 nanometer self-driving chipsets. If you look at industrial, Bosch is again looking to launch its own version of sensor-based chipsets. And each of these companies are trying to develop their own custom chipset devices. We have seen Ericsson in the telecom space look at their own ASIC center of excellence, where these engineers are helping them develop the next generation ASICs for their products. And like I mentioned, even the core verticals of aerospace and defense are not too far behind. We have seen a very interesting partnership between Global Foundries and Raytheon to basically develop a newer type of gallium nitride silicon semiconductor chip. And this is designed to improve the radio frequency performance, especially on 5G wireless networks. And so this is the kind of application we are seeing for semicon across different verticals. And hence we believe that Just as how we spoke about software eating the world about 10 years back, we believe that semiconductor will be what is going to eat up most of the other verticals in the next few years. So finally, what I would like to speak about is the fact that there is significant disruption in non-native areas that we are witnessing across different verticals. We are also witnessing significant collaboration already happening and more opportunities, especially with the service provider ecosystem, in both looking at what do you do with your existing products, which are very quickly getting outmoded, and also how do you leverage the technology expertise that the company might not natively have from some of these technology service providers to build a next generation products. And I think as we move forward, we are going to see a lot more increase in this collaboration. And during the course of this event, we have multiple presentations, keynotes, and roundtables, which will talk about the trends and also the opportunities to collaborate as we move forward. Thank you so much.